Before I put together the crest rail and the post, I just wanted to show you, we're going to be doing figure 5 here, but I want to show you something before we go there. But first off, we'll look at this figure here. This is pretty straightforward right here. The drawing, I think, pretty much explains everything. I'm going to spring clamp. I'm going to put the upper crest in place, spring clamp the lower crest to the post at I believe it's 2.5 inches from the shoulder to the center, and then put a spacer in here so we can clamp it up and get the arc, the same arc that this has to it. And then pretty much all you do is just use this part of the lower crest to sight the drill bit with and drill the hole, and you got it. It's pretty easy. So okay, now I'll go and show you this one little thing I want to show you. Okay, so I believe at some point I might have talked about how important it is that these match the bending forms, but if I haven't, I'll talk about it. They aren't the same bend. The lower one is just a little bit tighter than the upper one, but they're so close together that they have to be at the right bend. Now, it's not critical that it's their relationship that's critical, not necessarily that they match their form. So if they sprung back a little bit, if they just so happen to sprung back the exact same amount, then that's okay. Well, the way that you're going to check that before you go too far, because you don't want to, this is a problem. You can take the crest rail, hold it down, strike you a line between the knobs, okay? Now take the lower crest, and this is just from experience that I know this, but it'll help you. And I can move the lower crest up to where it's touching the end of the line there and touching the end of the line there. Look right over it. And now I've got a gap right here because this one's tighter. And that gap should be about 5/16 right there, which this one is. If you don't have that, then what you would need to do is take your lower crest back over to the form and either make it tighter by pulling it up and hitting it with a paint stripper, a heat gun, or you can open it up the same way. You could put it on the form and put shims here and clamp it up and hit it with you, and you don't need to move it much to make it to move it a lot. Okay, if that makes sense. Don't need to move much, move it a lot. Okay, now that I've got that established, we're going to go ahead and go to the chair and put the crest rail on and bore for the lower crest. Okay, so I put it together here, and okay, so you got to be really careful because you can snap these tenons off up here. Be real careful with it. Okay, so I can put it right like that, and I can see I'm pretty close. Let's see, that one needs to be turned out just a little bit more. And then as I put it in, you can line it up with your marks there. Okay. So there we go. What's that crest? What's that little little crown? Well, crown looks good. Got that crown right. And where I messed up, I'm just even with it right here at the post, and just even here. That hole, that 7/8 hole where I drilled, was off center a little bit, as I was telling you. But I'm I'm safe, just barely, because you know you could have your post sticking out. That wouldn't be good. So they're just even with it. So that would make this false miter being just a little bit this way, which you'll never notice when you carve the thing. Alright, so I believe if you look at the plans, you'll see that the crest rail is 2.5 below the shoulder, and of course I haven't taken that off with a draw knife yet, so I can't see where the shoulder is. So here I thought I was ready, but I'm not. I'm going to have to take this back, put it on the shaving horse, and cut off the bottom of that knob right there to where I'm flush with that shoulder, so I can then measure from that shoulder. Or, you know what I can do? I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. What am I talking about? That's usually the way I do it. You gotta be careful taking it apart. That's when I've broke them before. So let's see, if I kind of look at it, I can get a line on that of where that measurement's going to be right there. Now let's set that back in there. Set that there. Now I can come down 2.5. There. And 2.5. Okay. Now I can put it back together again. Okay. And you take a spring clamp. It ain't sticking out a whole lot, is it? It's okay. That'll be enough, I think. And if I come in, I don't want it to be in my way. Right on it. And look and see what we're talking about. Pretty good. Okay, there we go. Now, we got to make sure we get in the middle of that post, because all I did was just strike a little line by eye. But now we can actually measure. So we can want to get right in the middle of that post in relationship to where that rail is. And so my post at this point is 13/16. So I'm going to be halfway between 3/8 and 7 for that. There we go. And get that other one over here. That line was right on it. Pretty good guess. I like to use a bit brace here because there's no pressure. I like to use a bit brace whenever I can. I would have used a bit brace up here for this, but you can't get a good flat shoulder using with any method with a bit brace that I can think of. You could drill the 3/8 tenon, that's easy, but not that shoulder. So I have to use the cordless drill there. But when I can use the bit brace, I like to use it. And sometimes it's even better, like here, because there's just no pressure. Once it feeds, then there's just no pressure at all. And now I can just sit there and make sure it's lined up. Drop it just a little bit. There we go. There's the point coming through on the other side. And I'm going to bore this other one, and then I'll bore back through the other side. And then you just whittle your tenon to fit in there, and you've got it. So I think the next video that I'll be shooting will be figure 6, which is going to be boring for that for the handhold there.